Since 1952, healing hearts and sharing hope has been the focus of STCH Ministries' 9 distinct ministries. From residential care, counseling, and life skills training to strengthening communities and international, STCH Ministries has been working to show God's promise of hope and love to everyone. It all started with our Homes for Children on the Booth campus, where our focus has been caring for children who otherwise may not have anywhere to go. Children on the Booth campus live with their house parents who are able to show them love and support. On-site counselors and caseworkers are there to help the children's hearts heal and equip them to face what life has thrown at them. Our Homes for Families at the Marshall Ranch campus exists as a resource for single mothers and their children during times of crisis. The family is able to stay together or be reunified while transitioning into independence. We are able to provide the mothers a safe place to call home where they are supported physically, emotionally, and spiritually. Across Texas, there are children and families in need of help sorting through the challenges of life. STCH Ministries Family Counseling provides clinically excellent and distinctively Christian counseling. Our counselors come alongside individuals and families to address their needs. Equipping individuals to better understand God's purpose for their jobs and their finances is the intent of the Faith and Work and Faith and Finances Ministries. Faith and Work provides people the opportunity and tools to achieve their full potential in their work. Faith and Finances helps individuals discover what the Bible says about money and helps them learn how to break cycles of personal financial crisis. These courses are designed to help anyone in every stage of life. The objective of our Pastor Care Ministry is to strengthen and replenish the well-being of our church leaders, utilizing counseling and supplying guest preachers when time away is needed. Ministry Consulting provides help to organizations that are closely aligned with our purpose and values by providing resources to enable them to operate more effectively. Our Family Support Ministry works to find long-term sustainable solutions for families in need. Reaching out to make a difference beyond our borders is the mission of our international ministry. Individuals, churches, and other organizations throughout Texas and the United States are joining together to assist in mission projects in the Dominican Republic, Costa Rica, and Peru. The mission projects include construction work, medical clinics, vacation Bible school, teaching and pastoral conferences, and others that promote ongoing long-term success in these countries. For STCH Ministries, healing hearts and sharing hope is not just words. It is a way of life and a daily goal across all 9 ministries. To learn more about STCH Ministries and to find out how you can help, go to www.stchm.org.
Let me introduce myself. I'm Tim Tolosa, Director of Faith and Finances Program here in the San Antonio region. And I've only been with STCH just a little under a year. It's been an amazing journey already, and excited about what God's doing for us. And this is Blanca. Introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Blanca Eshba. I'm the site coordinator for the Faith and Finances division here in San Antonio, and I get to work with Tim in doing things, presentations like these.
Yeah, she does a lot more than presentations, by the way. She's been a great asset and has actually worked for the STCH Ministries longer than me and provides so much in background and help. It's so much easier, STCH Ministries, and probably one of the best ways for us to share with you is going to be by just initiating a video that explains everything in detail, together than it is doing things by yourself. And just the support of having others around you. The Bible teaches a principle. It says that iron sharpens iron. And what we want to do is we want to not only be able to sharpen each other's skills and help each other spiritually, but we also want to come alongside others who are in need. And that's really what STCH Ministries is about. It's about providing hope and healing to people who are in need. It all started, like the video said, so long ago with just a children's home. And now 9 different ministries are available that we have spread out across all of South Central Texas. And to be quite honestly, this past year, we were really working on presenting more and developing more of an online presence for STCH Ministries. And both in our counseling ministries and in our training ministries. Well, when COVID-19 hit, it kind of accelerated our plans and it put a fire under us and caused us to really look and find ways that we could reach out and touch people in a real way as we're going through this crisis together. And so, as you saw, we have 9 distinct ministries: Home for Children's, which is an amazing ministry taking care of the kids there in Beeville area; Homes for Families, which help those who are under distress; family counseling; international missions is amazing. I got to go to the Dominican Republic this past January, and hopefully in the next year or two, I'll get to go to Costa Rica as well and see more about what Stitch Ministries is doing down in those areas. Pastor care, family support, all the ministry consulting work that we do. And then the 2 ministries that we're most involved with: the Faith and Work Ministry, in training people on how they can better understand God's purpose for us to work for Him, to do everything in His name, to do it to the best of our ability. And then Faith and Finances, which is really ground zero for so many of us on a regular basis. But now with the COVID-19 thing going on and all the struggles that we've had, you can see how much more of a challenge this could be for us. So as you're going through the struggles and you're seeing things happen, some of you right now might be in your homes, you maybe are laid off, maybe you're facing a financial difficulty because of maybe some decisions that were made prior to COVID-19. I was telling Blanca before we started about a purchase I made one time based on income I was receiving at the time, and a few months later that income went away, and then I was kind of saddled with that great expense every month, and it just burdened me. And so if you're under stress right now, if you're feeling financial burdens or challenges, then I don't want you to feel like you're alone. Every one of us has gone through that. In fact, I think that's what kind of helps us be able to share with you on a very personal level, is that we have both made massive mistakes. I'm older, so I've made more mistakes, bigger mistakes than Blanca has, but we've both made mistakes, and we've had struggles in the past. And so we are just blessed that God has helped us to learn from our mistakes and to get better and to be able to enjoy this journey that we're on towards financial independence and financial freedom. Blanca, I know that you have more that you'd like to share about that.
Sure. Let me just say that we are so glad that you are here. This is truly the first step in this journey that we keep talking about. The title to our presentation is Journey to an Abundant Life. And we're going to dissect that a little bit more. But from the standpoint of faith and finances, how those two integrate together, I should say, I don't know about you, but I know I wasn't born into a family who really understood money, who even spoke about money. Nowadays in my own family, my husband and I have what we call family meetings, and we discuss our finances, and we discuss important things that are going on in our lives, as well as goals and things of that sort.
Now, how important is it that you discuss those things with your husband?
I would say it's very important, and it's a struggle for me, I'll admit, because I'm an independent woman, right? And I think many of you, both ladies and gentlemen, can identify with that. We want to be independent, but I have learned in the last 2.5 years of marriage that it is so important to be on the same page.
The communication.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, my husband is great with money. He was born into a family who understood it, who taught him the importance of savings, the importance of being a good steward. And so we were, when we first met, we were on very different ends of that spectrum.
That's pretty common.
Yes.
Yeah, when you first get married.
And so a common script in my home growing up was my mom used to say this all the time, you know, just embrace the debt. You're going to be in it your entire life. And as long as you can make the minimum payment, you'll be fine. It's just how life is. So just accept it. So as a kid, you learn to accept what your parents tell you. And I remember the constant calls from creditors, the constant hiding from creditors. This was before caller ID. You know, I remember those days before caller ID. And I remember having to answer the phone for my mom and her saying, just tell him I'm not here. You know, if you have an experience like that, please share it with us, because now looking back, I laugh. But the truth is that growing up in that environment caused me to be a young adult that carried a lot of shame. And a lot of that habits. That some were my own fault, my own doing, but a lot of it was learned behavior. And the silver lining in that is that behavior can be changed. It takes a lot of work and it takes dedication, and it's painful, but it can be done, and you can get some amazing results. And I like to share my story in that, you know, there is a light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm testimony of that. You know, I like to share that I was an emotional spender too, or what people might call a shopaholic. It's a very real thing, people.
Yeah, one of my students in a class this past weekend, they said, I have retail therapy.
Yes, it's not good.
It's not good.
Stitch Ministries offers real therapy,
Yeah,
real counseling.
Solutions,
yes. But you know, that shopaholic tendency and habit was simply a way, it was like my Band-Aid. You know, it helped me to deal, and I say that in quotes because I really wasn't dealing with anything. It helped me to deal with some deeply rooted issues in my life. And I used shopping and spending as a way to make myself feel better.
Did you find that you kind of got into a cycle?
I did, yes. A cycle that was, I didn't know it at the time, you know, it was just a way of life. It was just the way my mom said it would be.
Well, and that's really a very, very common thing, is that we do get into cycles and we end up having situations where we're not sure how to get out of the cycle. So there we go. This thing was not moving forward like I thought it was. There we go. So what we want to do is we want to look real quick. We want to give you, in this time that we have together today, some solutions, tools that will help you. But first, we got to do is identify what is the real need that we have. You know, we all have perceived needs about things, and I guess that every time that we go shopping, well, hopefully anyway, you actually have something that you need that you're going into the store to get, or you're getting online to go to Amazon and you're going to order something. You have a perceived need. But one of the things that we have to do is we have to look at those perceived needs, and we got to determine, is it really a need, or is there a possibility that this is a want? And how do we distinguish between needs and wants? This is one of the things that we really address and dig down into in our course, because we want people to be able to, on the fly, be able to identify things quickly and understand if it's a need or it's a want. Because when you have a perceived need, the first thing you're going to do is try to find a way to satisfy that need. How am I going to meet that need for me personally, or for my family, or for my friends, or for my job, for my ministry? Whatever it is that you feel the need is drawing you to, you've got to find a way to acquire the resources to meet that need. And so you ask your friends, you ask your bank, your credit union, you pull out your credit card, you use whatever resources are available to you to help acquire the necessary funds or the necessary materials to meet that need. Once you've done that, then you spend it. You spend those resources in order to secure whatever it is that you have a perceived need about. And that's fine. That sounds logical. You acquire the resources, you buy or secure the necessary items, but then it leads to something else. And at that time, it leads to debt. And so we leave ourselves in a situation where we have debt. Now, the word debt is truly a four-letter word. I mean, I don't know, it has such a negative effect on us. We don't like that word. You know, we're talking, oh, I have an account, I have a credit card. We're talking about our available credit, but we don't talk about our balance. We try to avoid debt, and we don't want to think about it because it brings stress. It brings shame, and sometimes even fear. Like Blanca was talking about, when you didn't have caller ID, you didn't know who was calling you, you just answer the phone and surprise, it's somebody who wants money. And so what we have to do is we have to try to find ways in our lives to break this cycle, because what will happen is, the example I was giving her was, I was actually working for the Air Force. I did 24 years in the Air Force. And when I was TDY is what they called it, I went on temporary duty down to Dallas. And I was in Dallas, and I was getting all of this money in the way of per diem, and I was getting actually a pay raise because I was making more as a captain in the Air Force down there than I was making at my regular job, my civilian job. So my salary almost doubled for the 5-6 months that I was going to be in Dallas. So I was like, wow, I felt rich. And I found this car I really liked. It was really beautiful. Man, it was black, it had the chrome wheels. It was nice. And the eye, the eye tempted me. And I said, okay, I'm going to find a bank that'll loan me the money, and I'm going to get this. And so I got it. I acquired it. And I went and I gave those signed documents to the car dealership, and I spent the money, and I got the car. But the problem is I didn't really spend my money. I spent someone else's money. And while I was in Dallas and making all this extra money, that was great. It was no problem. The car payment was nothing. But when I got back home to my regular salary without the per diem, the housing allowance, and all the other additional salaries, I found myself stressing a lot. Because all of a sudden, I could pay the payment, but I don't know, there's a term that my wife taught me years ago. She says, we don't want to live mortgage poor. And it's just no fun because you can't go do anything. Every dollar you have seems to be going towards a bill. Someone's hand is out and you've got to put money in it. And so the stress of it just caused me to sell that car. And so I went out and I found someone that would trade that car in. But when I traded it in, it was a new car and it was upside down. So I had to take about $4,000 of that debt from that loan, that original loan, roll it into my second car loan, which was a smaller payment, less of a car, but I had that car upside down. All right, I can't see you guys, but I bet some of you are smiling or laughing right now because you're thinking, oh yeah, I've done that. I've rolled my cars and my trade-ins, and all of a sudden I'm buying a $16,000 car, but the loan is for $27,000. And sometimes it amazes me that those financial institutions actually approve those loans, but they do. And so we've got to be careful. If we don't break the chain, if we don't stop trying to find ways to acquire new loans and new debt in order to get the things that we think that we need, the perceived need, because that car was definitely not a need. I had a car. It wasn't as nice, it wasn't as shiny, it wasn't as new, it wasn't as pretty, but it worked. And so my perceived need was nothing more than a want. And so I had to break the chain.
You know, something that you said, Linda, your wife, you know, you two obviously talked about this, right? And so
not originally.
Not
when
originally.
I made the purchase. It was like, surprise, look what I got. And that didn't go well.
Yeah.
You know, the communication that you were talking about,
Right.
how important that is in a marriage and in a relationship.
Yeah.
It really was a violation of trust, because even though I was the breadwinner, she was the housewife, but she took care of our children. We had 4 children at home, so she was raising them and taking care of the home. She's just as much a breadwinner in my book now as I am. It doesn't matter where the dollars come from. It matters you're a team and you're communicating and talking things through.
Yeah, and you know, our relationships when it comes to money can be affected. You know, going back to the cycle, we acquire the resources from somewhere, right? And sometimes that somewhere is from our family members, from our friends. And one of the questions that we sent to you was, how has your money negatively affected your relationships with friends or family? It's a powerful question if you really think about it, because if you're someone like me, you know, who's made mistakes, I know that in my past I asked my mom for money because I was very close to not being able to pay rent. You know, I had to find a way, and every time that I went that way, sometimes we have to, right? Sometimes
Circumstances
circumstances,
get us, yeah. COVID-19 viruses.
Exactly. So it's not always our own doing.
Right.
Sometimes it's consequences of something that's way out of our control. But the truth remains is that we get into debt, and if we are unable to pay that debt, to repay that debt, there are feelings of shame, and you know, we avoid talking to people. And so I know I've had circumstances in my life like that where money has negatively affected us. Has anyone, if anyone has had that happened to you, you know, we would love to hear from you in the chats.
Yeah, question for the Q&A.
Yeah, so I encourage you to give us some feedback if you've had your own experiences. But money does affect our relationships. Now let's take a step back and let's begin to look at the bigger picture, right? Let's think about the people or things that God has given to us.
Mm-hmm. This is the top priorities is so important that all of us really understand what are the priorities in our lives. What are the 3 things that you value most in your life? And if you would, no matter where you are, you can answer on the Q&A, or you can write them down just on your desk or your table, wherever you are. But I would really like for you to put these down. Don't just think about them. Write them down somewhere and put down, what are the 3 things that you value most in your life, your top priorities. And I'm going to give you just a few seconds to take care of that, okay? Blanca, sing a song for them while you're doing that. That's right. We need Jeopardy music.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry.
You want this one?
Yes. Let's see. I think someone.
The top 3 priorities in your life.
Okay.
There's one.
Relationships get strained with family when money gets tight. I struggle with being generous with finances, and end up arguing over them.
Generosity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, that is something that we struggle with sometimes, especially in a marriage and a relationship, because maybe not everyone's on the same sheet of music. You know, you're addressing things from a different standpoint. It could be just your backgrounds. I mean, we talked about learned behaviors that we had growing up. Her experience, Blanca's experience growing up was so different than mine. My dad was meticulous with the finances. He managed all the finances. A late bill, I never saw anything red or yellow come in our mail. My dad didn't allow that. And so it was a totally different environment. But I can tell you this, that as meticulous as my dad was with his finances, I didn't share his enthusiasm In fact, it almost turned me off because he literally kept track of every dollar he spent, I believe, his entire adult life.
Wow.
And we ask our students to do those types of things, but for short term, so you can kind of get an understanding of where your money's going. But man, I mean, it's just those disciplines just weren't present in my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes when one person is wanting to give and give and give, and the other person's wanting to more or less build a kingdom or do other things with that money, it can cause stress. Absolutely.
For
and I
sure.
appreciate you sharing that with us.
Yeah, I mean, we're going through some difficult, unprecedented circumstances. And I mean, I've never been a part of a pandemic. And so my list of priorities is something that has kept me accountable, I guess I should
Mm-hmm.
say, to my beliefs and to my family. So these are some examples of what your priorities might look like.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it's your career. And none of these are bad per se, right? But it is important to write these down.
No, and that's the point, is that there is no right or wrong to your priorities. Your priorities are your priorities.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to sit here and say, oh no, that's not a good top priority.
Right.
It's, you have to establish your own top priorities.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing that you also need to understand is that once you set your priorities, then you need to support those priorities.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's probably the disconnect that we have in our lives. We don't always support the things that we say that are important in our lives. For example.
Yes. So one reason why money hurts our relationships is that we sometimes aren't completely aware of, or being honest with ourselves regarding where our money is going and the way we spend our money. So to get a handle on that, I'd like us to take just a couple of minutes and do this quick exercise. And on your piece of paper or on a Post-it, on your phone, I'd like to ask you to write down up to 8 specific purchases that you have made this week or last week. It's Tuesday, so unless you have a really bad shopping problem, you may have already done your 8, but include anything from food, clothes, entertainment, shopping, bills. Those are expenses as well. Write them down. And if you would like to share with us some of those items, you can do it anonymously through the Q&A section. But yes, take just a couple of minutes to do that, and we'll come back.
Okay.
I'll write down some of mine too. For some of us, this COVID-19 situation may have brought out the shopper in us. I remember just about every other day sitting in front of my computer with my Amazon cart full of stuff, 5, 6, 7 things that I just told my husband I needed. And I had to go through that process of, okay, do I need it or do I want it? And many times it was a want. And so I didn't shop as often as I could have, but it was sometimes harder than others. Thank you. Again, if any of you want to share some of your purchases.
Oh my gosh, here's a great question and comment. This has been my downfall is, I think Jeopardy's about done. So, okay, very good. Thank you, Alex Trebek. All right, so someone posted, it's been hard not to spend time on Amazon when you're home so much.
Yes.
Hallelujah. Thank you. You just made me feel inclusive.
Yes.
All right, because I am an Amazonaholic. And is that a new word? I think I just made
You
that
need
up.
to coin it.
I was before COVID, and then COVID came along, and it was like, oh my gosh. I mean,
Magnifying
the
glass.
Amazon guy they were stopping by our house even when they didn't have packages,
Yeah.
just to say hi. So it was getting really bad there, and probably about 2 weeks ago, I said, okay, enough. I cannot possibly have these many needs.
Yeah, right.
And one of the things was that, some of the things that I was going online to buy were actual needs. You know, medicines, trying to find toilet paper for a while there. Oh my gosh, that was nuts. Trying to get some of our household supplies delivered so we didn't have to go out to the stores. And so some of the things, you know, were legitimate. But then once you get on the site, they start popping up all these other ideas. Why don't you add this? Look at this, you know?
Right.
And I started falling into those deal things. And I says, okay, this should have been like a $40 Amazon bill. And I just spent 88 bucks. What happened here? So yeah, I totally feel your pain with that one. And so much would appreciate the fact that the need to support my top priorities is foremost.
Yes. And so I'm very glad that you said that, because now after we've listed our 8 specific purchases, I'd like you to compare them to what you've recorded on your top priorities list or chart, or, you know, maybe you drew a picture, but compare what you've recorded and reflect on this question. Does the way I'm currently using my money contribute to what I say are my top priorities? Yeah, this is a question I had to ask myself every day as I looked at my Amazon cart. And take a moment and just reflect on that. You know, does the way I'm currently using my money contribute to what I say are my top priorities?
You know, I mentioned a little while ago that a couple of weeks ago, I had to change what I was doing, because I had to make that determination. Am I really purchasing things and spending our resources on things that are reflective of my top priorities? And so I started doing something. I call it my shopping cart safe. And what I started doing was, in Amazon, I would put something in the shopping cart, but I wouldn't allow myself to purchase it for 24 hours. And then over the next 24 hours, I would either do one of two things. I would think about, yeah, I really do need that, or Linda needs that, or I need that for my grandkids, or I need, you know, I would make that determination. But more times than not, I would go back to the Amazon site 3 days later and look at the shopping cart and go, what's that? What's in my cart? And I'd look at it and go, oh, I don't need that. And no purchase. It was amazing how many times that happened. And then pretty soon it totally changed everything, because my spending went down so much.
It's true. You know, we have to ask ourselves, how is your spending contributing or taking away from your top priorities?
Right.
Okay, so asking these questions, putting these questions as a safeguard, I'm sure saved you a lot of money.
Absolutely.
And probably a lot of discussions with Linda.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing is, you know, in a marriage where you've got all the resources that you really need, it sometimes can be more difficult than when things are tight. Because when things are tight, you really do share. I mean, if I have to tell my wife, hey, you can go to HEB, but you only got $40 for 2 weeks. All right, then you're going to have a discussion. But when you're really doing well financially and everything's kind of comfortable, you don't have those conversations as much.
Yeah.
And so it gets to a point where you can just spend and lose track of it if you're
Right.
not tracking your spending
It's true.
and answer these questions.
Something that I used to tell myself was, well, I work for it. You know, I earn money, I work hard, and I can afford it, or I just want it, so I'm going to get it. And this is more or less when I was single and
What do we
didn't have
call
to. Well, several things.
Rationalization.
Yes.
All right, that's what we call it. Rationalization, because we tend to think things through and we rationalize them. And I saw someone like my Amazon tip. That's
Yes.
awesome. I'm telling you, it works.
Delayed gratification.
It works.
Yes.
All right. So we called this session that we're doing right now about, getting on this abundant life journey and coming together and being able to change things. Well, I'm going to tell you, first of all, Blanca and I don't have all the answers. We're not really developing anything new, except maybe my shopping cart thing.
Yeah.
and so what we've got here is really just taking the Word of God, taking Bible, the financial principles that were laid out in God's Word, and saying, you know what, how can we apply these to everyday American life where we're at right now? And so, first of all, we had to kind of define what is an abundant life. What is it that God was talking about in John 10 when he had the author write down, the thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy, but I have come that they may have life and have it to the full. And that word full is really the word that I love to use when I think about abundant life. Because full is going to be a little bit different for everybody. When I went down to the Dominican Republic and got to meet some of these people who lived, folks, I know you've seen the images on television, but when you're there and you step into somebody's shack, now this is somebody that comes to church on Sunday and they're dressed nice and they're clean and they smell good, they look good, they're just awesome people. You get in a conversation with them and they have a great testimony of the great life that God has given them. And you go to visit their house and you walk in it, and literally it is 12 foot by 10 foot, the entire house, one room, everything's piled on top of each other, but it's neat, it's clean. And if you were going to ask them, how's your life? What do you need? They'd say, oh, I don't need anything. God gives me everything I need. And then I come back here to my Amazon world and I think, wow, how can I learn to live a little more simply? So that when I live simply, my life is full. It's easier to fill a simple life than to fill a complex materialistic life that I've been living. And so I had to make some hard decisions and look at myself. And so I had to ask some questions like, man, do I have an abundant life? Do I really view my life as being full? Or am I always wanting more? The answer is that God gives us all we need. And that really, when I think of my family, when I get up in the morning and I get out of this nice, comfortable bed and I hit my nice carpeted floor and I walk to my nice, functional bathroom, which, by the way, that family in Dominican didn't even have inside. I get up now and I say, thank you, Lord. Thank you for this house. Thank you for my wife. Thank you for my family. Thank you for my health today. Because not every day are we healthy. So we need to be thankful. It's a very important part of the abundant life. And then I had to ask myself, do you really want it? Because if I don't really want the full abundant life, if I want to continue down the road I'm going, then you can go to all the financial courses you want and nothing's ever going to change in your life. Because it's not just about the facts, it's about whether we want it.
Yeah, I think it's a paradigm shift, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
Before I had my personal aha moment regarding my finances, I came up with many of spreadsheets, beautiful spreadsheets with perfect balances and pretty numbers, but my heart hadn't changed. My mindset hadn't changed. So I kept doing the same things over and over. I kept making the same mistakes. My version of an abundant life was not a holistic life. It was, there were a lot of things I had to deal with before I could come to terms with my finances. And so this journey to an abundant life, is something that we don't have to do on our own. And
Hallelujah.
In the packet that you received a document that looks a lot like what you're seeing on the screen now. And it's basically our roadmap to living financially abundant, right?
Yeah.
And
the full life.
Yeah, the full life, and so we try to simplify it as best as we can. I think for me, it was really seeing the bigger picture of what my financial situation was really like. And that's scary, you guys.
Yeah,
at least for me, it was. I mean, no one wants to say, oh yes, I've been doing this wrong my whole life. But the proof is in the pudding, and I was. And so I'm very open about my story because when I kept it inside, I know that it brought a lot of shame. And I keep saying that because it was such a big deal for me. But once I was open about it, and once I got people around me who could really help walk me through some of these steps that you see on this document, it suddenly became easy to carry the burden with the help of others. And I think Tim talked a little bit about Faith and Finances, the course. But here we do, we teach God's plan and how it is bigger than what we have planned on our own. So we want to leave you with this. It's a tool that we like to use to help anybody who wants to go through this on your own time.
But
yes, but
it is so much easier to go through it with others. I'm just here to tell you, we were talking about doing this presentation together, so much easier, and helping each other, and iron sharpens iron, and all these great things that can happen when you're in a dynamic, in a group of people. And even we're doing a lot of our training, of course, now online. And so we use Zoom and we use other methods to reach out to people. And it is just amazing how excited people get when they come together week after week, and they get to know that I'm not in this alone. Hallelujah. Thank God. There are other people who are struggling with me and want to make corrections in their course. In fact, last night, the course that I teach last night had a bank president. He's one of our students. And I think, here's a guy that is a president of a bank. He said, I have money in my accounts. I've done all the right things, but I want to get better. I want to get better. And if there's things I can adjust and make better in my life, then I want to be in this course, because I want to have these improvements. Like Blanca was saying, we all fail, we all make mistakes, but we want to get back up and continue. Success is not about not failing. Success means you don't give up, and then you find the end of the journey. Let's see this question here. Do you have any tips for how to make sure and control spending, how to change the mindset on payday? Yeah, payday mindset. It's definitely a struggle. I struggle to remember to put responsibility first, and always want to buy something unneeded because I feel like I earned it. And I think that you just addressed that too, Blanca, because we do get that feeling. We work hard for our money, like the song says, And so we kind of get that feeling that we want to go out, and that spending is a little therapeutic, and it makes us feel like we've accomplished something. So what I did, and here's a tip that I can give you right now, because I'm gonna go ahead and switch the slide over, because on our journey, as we go through the Faith and Finances course that we're gonna offer to you guys, I'm telling you, when you get down to setting savings goals, session 4, look at session 4 there. Another question was, could this journey with several points be emailed? You should have gotten that. So
Yes,
I'm going to let Sammy make sure that you guys get a copy of that so you can print it out and actually read it. Because, we knew it was too small on the screen, but we thought you had a copy you could print out.
yes, I'll get it.
Okay, so you will get that. So session 4 on setting savings goals really helped me change the way that I viewed things, because I was trying to set huge goals. I was setting savings goals like, I want to have $2,000 in my savings account by the end of the month. Well, it wasn't realistic. And so I had to learn, how do I set goals? What are these goals that I can set? So we have a method called SMART goals, where you need to be specific about what that goal is, all right? You need to make sure that it is measurable goals, all right? So $2,000 was measurable. That was very specific. It was dollars, so I understood that, all right? The next thing was it has to be achievable. That's when I ran into the problem. I didn't have that much residual income to put $2,000 aside by the end of the month. I could maybe put 20 aside, and then the next month I could put another 20, and the next month I could put another 20. And what I found out is that when I set up automatic transfers from my checking account to my savings account, and I set up a special savings account at a credit union where I don't have real quick access to the money, all right, kind of like my Amazon shopping cart, then that $20 would get transferred each week. All right, I was having $20 put in there, another $20 put in there, $10 the next week. And as I set up these automatic transfers, I never missed them out of my checking account. I went, it was probably 6 months later, I got a statement from that credit union, and I looked at it and I said, oh my goodness, I got $482. Wow, yeah. I got $482 in savings. And you know what the first thought was? What can I buy?
Yeah.
I'm like, what is wrong with you, man? All right. But I didn't. I left it there. And I was so proud. It actually took the place of that retail therapy high that I was looking for. Yeah. Because I was like, hey, look, Linda, we got $482.
Yeah. You know, I want to address that question that we had about how do I stop myself from spending on payday? And what are some tips that we can give you? And I think the biggest tip from my end is be mindful of your spending.
A spending plan.
Yeah, a spending plan.
Isn't that in there?
So yes.
Number 5.
So we're not saying, no, don't do it, stop. We're not saying deny, you know, all of your wants. That is not what we're saying at all.
Well, you've been on a diet, right?
Yes.
All right. Number one rule of a diet, just when I go on a diet to try to lose weight, is I determine right away, I'm not going to totally deny myself. You know what I ended up doing? And I dropped from 220 down to 207 in just a few months. And I did it this way. I love ice cream at night. And I had a bowl that was my ice cream bowl. And instead of denying myself all ice cream and being miserable, I got this little bowl that only holds 1 scoop.
Yeah. Moderation,
right? Portion control.
Yeah.
And it's the same principle that we use in finances, is don't deny yourself. If you like drinking Coca-Cola and you want to drink a Coke, then drink a Coke, but you don't have to buy the 24 pack.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. What my husband and I do is we split a Coke. You know, whenever we have them.
That's just going too far.
We do. I don't finish a whole Coke. But, you know, be mindful. Don't deny, just in moderation. And also just seeing the big picture of where our finances are is crucial. Because if we don't know what our starting point is, then how can we ever get anything?
Okay. You have the opportunity to register for one of our upcoming classes. And if you will follow this link.
When you get this link, click on it. It'll take you to our website, to our application. Fill it out. It comes directly to us, and that way we can contact you directly and have these conversations even before our class.
Absolutely.
But crucial, please, please, please register at this link. If you have any further questions or questions, feel free to contact us. Contact Tim or myself, Blanca. You can also follow us on social media at stitchem.org and Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have an online presence.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for bearing with us.
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, how much does it cost? Hey, listen, that's the most important question. Are you ready? Since we're teaching about managing finances and being financially responsible, we as Stitch Ministries are paying the entire bill. They pay our salaries, they pay for all our materials, they pay for these computers. Stitch Ministries funds all of this, including the books that you will be provided, okay? So I want you guys to understand that there's no cost whatsoever. There's no hidden cost. This is a ministry. We are here to help you find solutions, all right?
Feel free to contact us. Contact Tim or myself, Blanca. You can also follow us on social media at stitchem.org and Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We have an online presence.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for bearing with us.
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh, how much does it cost? Hey, listen, that's the most important question. Are you ready? Since we're teaching about managing finances and being financially responsible, we as Stitch Ministries are paying the entire bill. They pay our salaries, they pay for all our materials, they pay for these computers. Stitch Ministries funds all of this, including the books that you will be provided, okay? So I want you guys to understand that there's no cost whatsoever. There's no hidden cost. This is a ministry. We are here to help you find solutions, all right? Anything else?
I think that's it.
All right. All right. We are incredible.